VP Harris also appearing to be making a huge change to her media strategy in addition to that Fox News interview. In this election cycle, her team now reportedly in talks for her to appear on Joe Rogan's podcast, one of the biggest and most popular right now. Some things to know about the Rogan Experience, this podcast, more than 14 million followers on Spotify. 81% of the listeners are men, 56% are younger than 35, and Rogan's listeners generally lean libertarian or conservative. The report comes on the heels of her agreeing to that Fox News interview, a taped interview that will air this week. Neither of these overly friendly environments for Harris. Joining me now, NewsNation media contributor Colby Hall. Colby, good morning. So does this quiet the naysayers, the critics who say she only shows up for the people who support her? She's going on Fox News.
Well, it should, but I will also say there's a caveat to it could be too little too late. I think you set it up wonderfully. We don't really know if this is a shift in strategy because we don't really know what their strategy was, but it certainly looks like it. One gets the impression that, they saw the trending in the polls and a tightening race, and they decided to get out and, go on places that are less friendly, and I applaud her for that. I think this should have been the case going back, and I think, candidly, Trump should do the same, although he's sort of getting a pass because he's only going on outlets that are, sort of very, very friendly. But, if you're willing to be sort of the commander in chief and be the leader of the free world, you shouldn't be afraid to, sit down on Fox News or go on Joe Rogan, or if you're Trump, sit down with, someone on NewsNation or in CNN or MSNBC. I think transparency is a good thing, and both of these candidates should be encouraged, and their feet should be held to the fire for doing more of this stuff.
Yeah, everything is fair game. I mean, I, for one, would like to see another debate in addition to interviews here on NewsNation and elsewhere. Let's talk about the less conventional platform of a podcast. I mean, is that where we are right now and where things are going, and less of the 60 Minutes type interviews? And how significant is that?
Well, it is where we are right now, and I don't know that we know the significance because I don't know if anyone really has a true sense of what today's media landscape looks like. I laud the candidates and their campaigns for trying new and alternative things. It's not clear that, anyone that will tell you that this is a smart strategy will only know if it's a smart strategy in the future, because we're living in the future. Everything is upside down with cable cutters and podcasts and streamers. It's a whole new brave world that they're trying to figure out. The other part is that a lot of these podcasters are so delighted to have a massive booking like a Trump or Harris that they're willing to swallow a lot of tough questions. These are not people that really abide by traditional standards of journalism. So of course, the candidates prefer going in these environments. And also, their audiences are very niche, right? They're very much defined, whether they call her daddy as a very sort of strong women audience, or Joe Rogan, which is predominantly male. So if you want to target a specific demographic and you get friendly questions, that's the place to go. Though I'm not sure Joe Rogan will ask Kamala Harris just friendly questions, but it'll be a new audience.
I don't listen to his podcast, but what kinds of questions do you think he may throw at her?
So what's interesting about Joe Rogan is that they're not really compressed with time. It's a very relaxed conversation, and he's more of a comedian that doesn't really abide by any of the responsibility of asking true journalistic. He's just sort of shooting the bull with whomever his guest is. So, that's why he sort of gets into conspiratorial stuff, because it's just kind of a late night bull session. I suspect he will challenge her on a lot of the issues that she should be challenged on. Border policy, namely, and her economic policy. But I suspect there'll also be a lot of relaxed conversation about legalization of marijuana and, her love of hip hop, which came up when she was interviewed with Charlamagne the God back in 2019. So, he's friendly, he's convivial, he'll be tough. So I really encourage, anyone to go on that. I hope Trump would go on Rogan as well, because I think there would be a meaningful conversation with you. We'd learn more about both candidates as a result.
Yeah, I think he is supposed to go on. Now, if they had them on together, now that'd be something I'd tune into.
I will say that would be Joe Rogan hosts the next debate.
Yeah,
he has nearly 15 million subscribers, and CNN has 500,000 nightly viewers. So, in terms of power and influence, Joe Rogan, is holding a lot of sway right now.
Yeah, has some reach. All right, Colby, as always, good to see you. Thank you. Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.